Welcome to Field Notes, or should I say Field News. Breaking news from the field that casually studies rocks that are millions of years old. And what is this news? It's from none other than our dear friend pollen. Besides making life miserable for many people in this eon, it turns out it could have been around to make the dinosaurs' lives miserable as well. First, a little background. Pollen comes from flowering plants, otherwise known by a fancier name of angiosperm. We take these plants for granted every day, but let's go back to when there weren't any flowering plants at all. We actually have a range of dates from when we think the first flowering plants existed, depending on whose data you trust. But the general consensus is that flowering plants arose in the early Cretaceous. Now for some of you that probably means nothing, so let's look at a chart. So these names probably look familiar as the time when the dinosaurs were around. So if we've got the oldest down here going to the youngest, at the very end of when the dinosaurs were around is when we start thinking that angiosperms are developed. But now, new evidence has emerged from Switzerland that says that flowering plants may have been around in the mid-Triassic. Now, if you're keeping score, that's a difference of 100 million years. Researchers from the University of Zurich have found fossils in drilling cores of 6 different types of pollen. The fact that they found 6 suggests that the parent plants of this pollen were already pretty diverse even in this early stage of development. So why pollen? Why can't we just find a nicely preserved flower to corroborate the age of flowering plants? Well, this is due to what is known as preservation bias.
Field Notes vocabulary.
Well, that's a new feature. A preservation bias is... Guys, are the words on the screen really necessary?
Yes.
Okay, well, a preservation bias is anything that may affect whether or not something is preserved. Like a high number of these organisms or things will lead to more of them being in the right place at the right time. Or what the thing is made out of. Is it squishy and can be decomposed readily, or is it hard to destroy like a shell? So if we think about pollen, there's a lot of them floating around, and they tend to be hardier, so they have a higher preservation bias than the soft, squishy, easily decomposed flower that they came from. So while more evidence may show up, this actually leaves the Jurassic, the middle section of our little chart, lacking in what should be an expansion of the angiosperms if they did come around in the Triassic. Still, this is just one more piece of evidence that when we think we have something figured out, turns out we don't. And this shows why geology is cool, because even though these rocks are millions of years old, they're always trying to tell us something, and we just have to know what we're looking for. So if you're at all interested in reading the article about the article, I have linked it down below. Or if you are more interested in reading the actual scientific paper that was published in an open source journal online, I've linked that down below too. Be sure to comment and tell me if you want any specific geology videos, or if you're curious about something, I'll do my best to try to explain it. Remember to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. The fancier name of angiosperm. Am I not in the shot at all? I don't like this, I can't spin.